the fuck is up, YouTube? I'm just out here recording my thoughts on this Killing Floor stress test. My pants are up, my dick is dry. What the fuck are we gonna do about it? Let's get into this. So I'm not gonna be able to record, audio over the entire gameplay segment. It's about 30 minutes long, and I'm recording this on my break at lunch, just trying to get this video up as quickly as possible. My intention was to write a script for it. I'm leaning more toward making content like that as the time goes on, but currently, just time is not permitting that. I got the notification that I was allowed in the stress test this morning, and it took them until about 11 a.m. to let me on. So I was able to play a couple rounds, get a feel for the game, kind of gather my thoughts on it, but I was not able to write the script. I just did not have time. So we're just going to shoot from the fucking hip as always. Let's get into this. First things first, the format for this is going to be real simple, just shooting from the hip, stream of consciousness, but I do have some, relatively gathered thoughts about it. First and foremost, I absolutely love the art direction in this game. I feel like things have gone in a much more positive direction with the enemies. I am a little disappointed with the environments thus far, but Killing Floor is kind of notorious for having a million maps, so I'm sure I'll find some that kind of tickle my willy. One criticism I did have is I don't know if this is what the final game's gonna look like, but I felt like the guns are just a whole lot of what the fuckery. We now have three permutations of 4 different guns per class. And I found that to be really disappointing. Maybe this is about what it was in the other game, but I distinctly remember 12 different guns. Maybe it was closer to 6 with variations, but I do feel like we lost some guns somewhere along the line. And then that brings me to my next point, which is I feel like the guns are very samey until you get to that final tier. And I found that to be kind of underwhelming as well. Which brings me to my general point of basically this stress test, closed beta, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Maybe it was an open beta, I'm not sure. I know I had to apply for it, and I was granted access, but it was just kind of underwhelming, but I'm satisfied with it. It was Ego Raptor once said, the junk food of video games. This was the junk food of video games. It was kind of underwhelming. Tastes good. Wasn't really very rewarding or anything, but it was fucking fine for what it was. Some other criticisms that I wanted to bring up was I felt like when you balance a game like they did with this one, they kind of did away with broken weapons. And it did away with the issue of if you have a really good team in Killing Floor 2, you're gonna absolutely fucking murk all the enemies and all the bosses, and it just kind of feels like you're kind of struggling to get a hit or two in, even if you're not 100% locked in and just an absolute killing machine. Whereas this one, everybody felt important. I was getting revived here and there, but it kind of did that jack of all trades, master of none kind of thing. A friend to everyone is an enemy to himself. Appeasing all those people, they kind of took away from kind of the fun of the game, which is in my opinion, leveling up and then become not necessarily leveling up, but as the rounds go, purchasing more and more better weapons. I felt like the purchases are now fucking useless. All I'm doing is periodically hopping into that trader to get a better gun. Whereas before it was each round it's all right, I could survive now I have a lever action. At least that was my experience in Killing Floor 2. I felt like, this game is suffering from the balancing that Skyrim suffered from. So when the game first dropped and it had the level 80 level cap and no legendaries, there was classes, there was builds, there was planning, there was all these things. And then when they added legendary, it just kind of like made everything the same, made the game harder than it was before in a way that, felt disingenuous. And that's kind of how I feel about this. Like, every gun kind of feels underwhelming, nothing really stands out. And it makes everything balanced, but it also makes nothing fucking stand out. Like I wasn't like excited to bust out a gun, I feel like the final weapons, if you're gonna go this direction, they should be fucking monstrous and stand out, instead of like just something that is artificially better than the other guns. Like my pistol's putting in work here. Which kind of brings me to my next point is like, I feel like this kind of went a Call of Duty direction, which I've seen a lot of games do, especially with the slides, the zip lines, all that. Killing Floor is not Call of Duty. Every game can benefit from Call of Duty's fluid motion and, like addicting gunplay, but Killing Floor is not Call of Duty. It felt a little weird to be able to vault out of a situation or slide out of a situation where normally I would have just been in a corner getting ass fucked. Which, like, not really, I'm not really a fan of, like, having sex with gorillas, because, the sex is over when the gorilla says it's over, but, like, I do like that legitimate challenge of, like, if you fuck around, like, you're gonna find out, whereas in this game, it's like, if you go down, like, somebody will come revive you. Maybe it was just me, but I felt like I started with full armor every time, like, maybe I was just buying it by mistake. Like, I do like that they limited your syringes to 3, but you could spam them now. It's just like I said, it's like that Skyrim balancing where it's like you did, in theory, mathematically balance this perfectly, which I feel like was their goal. But, like, not every game needs that. Part of the fun is finding the quirks and then working around them. And when there's no quirks, everything's samey, everything's equal. It just kind of makes the game fucking whack. Like, what I liked about Killing Floor 2 was, I found myself finding a class that suited me as a person. Whereas, in this, it's like, I don't know, you can play whatever the fuck you want. It's all going to be the same experience. Like, do you want to be considerate and heal your teammates, or do you want to be a little broken and run around with melee? Do you want to challenge yourself with those bows and arrows, or, you know what I mean? And it's like, that's cool, but like, there's like a sense of identity to your class in Killing Floor 2, whereas like in this, it's just like, I don't know, we're just, Killing Floor Call of Duty, and you can just play whatever the fuck you want. Like, it went from like a Team Fortress 2 feel to like a Rainbow Six Siege feel, and hopefully that makes some sort of sense. Like, Team Fortress 2, like, like, if you played a spy, like, you were a spy, you know what I mean? And then, like, you were, like, a nasty spy. If you played a sniper, you were, like, a nasty sniper. If you played an engineer, you probably were just gooning with your fucking mic off, you know what I mean? But, like, in this, it's like, I don't even know what the fucking engineer does. I don't even know what his major use is here. I don't see any incentive to play as an engineer. I don't see any incentive to play as anything. It's just like a matter of preference. Like, that was kind of underwhelming. I do like that the art direction moved in a positive direction in terms of like the NPCs. I don't know if I've mentioned this because this is my second time recording the audio. Unfortunately, the audio is being pulled from my HTC Vive the first fucking time, which, like, God knows why that would be set as a default recording device, but, that's neither here nor there. But basically, like, I like that the enemies are back to being scary. I felt like they leaned a little close to campy last time. I feel like there was more consideration put into them. They feel like more organic in the lore. like the fat guy kind of like bulges, almost like those enemies in GTFO. The fucking crawler dude is now more like spider-esque rather than just all black dude with extra legs that kind of seem jarring to look at when everything else is fleshy and he's not. I really fucked with that. It was kind of cool to see a flesh pound turn his arms into like giant flails and mash around. There are executions in this game. Fuck me, I'm trying to do them. I have no idea how to figure that out. You know, I'm not really devoting full attention to this gameplay. I was playing this at work, like I said, so, you know, I'm sure there was prompts and stuff that I missed, but, you know, I found this thing to be cool that I just dropped, this little dude that's flying around shooting shit with me. Felt like it was cute. I feel like there's a lot of potential here, but it's not quite being fulfilled. And, you know, like, nowadays, it's not really the end of the world. Like, most games ship half fucking finished. But I feel like they were trying to avoid that. And who knows, maybe they'll listen to some of this input and, you know, a month into the game, it'll be where it should be, which is, you know, kind of disappointing, but also kind of cool, in a sense, because, you know, like, back in the day, they would drop a game, try out some new stuff, and then you would just be shit out of luck, like, if you didn't care for the new stuff, whereas, like, nowadays they tend to interpret people's opinions and, you know, introduce those ideas into the game. So I'm kind of excited to see what this evolves into. You know, other than that, you know, another point I wanted to make was I felt like the bosses were underwhelming. You know, in the other game, I feel like they had a lot of character. I feel like they felt like they organically came from a world, not necessarily the world that the other Zeds come from, but a world. Like that fucking Nazi doctor. Like, I'm not sure that he belonged in the game, per se, but he felt like he had some legitimate character. You know, the bitch with the exosuit, same thing. Like, I don't know, she kind of had like a military vibe to her. I'm not sure if, like, Hell has, like, a legitimate army, you know, but, like, it also made sense. You know, maybe there was more canon that I missed, you know, and they were explained better, but, you know, I feel like these bosses are just kind of like an extension of what we're looking at, which, once again, is like one of those things where it's like, I feel like they saw that and then tried to change it, but then wound up making the game lose its character a little bit. I'm not saying we have to go fully back to the camp of Killing Floor 2. I do like the art direction shifting more into a scary direction, but you know, I do feel like we're those bosses were a little underwhelming. You know, right now in the gameplay, you're looking at me using the engineer's gun. That's kind of like another point that I wanted to make with the guns, is like, I felt like they were a little, I don't know, too specialized, you know what I mean? Like, I don't see any reason you would use this gun unless you were an engineer. It's like kind of a little wonky and weird. I feel like some of them were more well designed than others. Like, I feel like the final gun for the medic was just like super underwhelming. It wasn't designed in a way that looks like it's a final gun. Like, if I showed you this and said, what tier do you think this is of engineer, you would be like tier 3. And I'd be like, yeah, it makes sense. But if I showed you the tier 3 medic gun, you would be like, yeah, I don't know, tier 1. You know, it's just kind of underwhelming. Right here, you see me spawn camping these guys. I'm a little disappointed with how they were spawning. It was really cool to see, like, you know, fucking dismembered Zeds crawling around. And then we have these guys just kind of popping right in, which was just felt a little unpolished. I know this is an unpolished copy, but we're, you know, the game's dropping in 2 fucking days, you know. How much more polish are you going to be able to put on it in 2 days? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I mentioned in one of the other ones, I felt like there was just some odd, like, ludonarrative dissonance. I'm not sure if I mentioned that in this recording or the other one. If I did, eat my fucking dick. I'm gonna repeat my point, which is basically, you know, I felt like the increased movement kind of led to, you know, some feelings of freedom that weren't really necessary. You know, like, I don't really want to feel like a super soldier. I want to feel like just some random ass dude trying to kill these guys. And I feel like that's kind of like a theme that rings true through this, you know, increased movement and stuff. You know, is like you feel more like a super soldier. And that's, I'm not really into the power fantasy thing in this game per se. I like the idea of like just being like some random ass dude that just is trying his best to help clean up this, you know, infection that's, you know, destroying his world. But what I also found was, like, with zip lining, vaulting, and all that, it kind of made the entrances that the Zeds come in feel a little fucking stupid. You know, I think they would have done well to make the Zeds come out of fire or come out of some sort of bile or something that would hurt you to touch, like a Halo 3 Guardians kind of vibe. I feel like the Guardians in Halo 3 made the game feel more alive. I less frequently found myself looking at a door that I couldn't open that I felt like I could, you know. Whereas these, it's like, where can you vault and where can't you vault? I don't know, just figure out where the fucking map boundaries are, you know. And those are, like, problems that come along with this, like, you know, movement when you don't consider it. And, you know, maybe that's just a me opinion, but, you know, as I said in either this recording or the other one, like, opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got them. And if you don't like mine, feel free to go fuck yourself. But I figured I would just share it. Yeah, I don't really have too much else to say for fear of repeating myself a million times. I just want to get this video out. Remember, it's only gay if you like it. Thanks for watching. Thanks to Killing Floor for removing the NDA and allowing me to play in the beta. Not sure if everybody could or if it was just a me thing. But yeah, eat a fucking dick.